Hi pre-K friends, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're in my kitchen because for our small group activity, we're going to do a science experiment. Now, this is something you can do with me while you watch, or you can watch my video and then you could do it yourself afterwards. When it's your turn to do this activity, what you're going to need is you're going to need a piece of paper. Got some paper here. You're going to need something to write with. I have a marker. Use a pencil, it's up to you. And then you're going to need a big container. So, it doesn't have to be as big as this one, but it has to be something that you can see through. Because the activity we're going to do today is sink or float. Do you guys remember doing a sink or float science experiment in our classroom back in the fall? Remember, we wanted to know if our pumpkin would sink or if it would float. So today, I'm going to show you how you can do that science experiment at home with all items that are in your house. So you need paper, you need something to write with, you need a container, this is what we're going to put water in, and then you need different things that you're going to try to see if they can sink or if they can float. Now the things that we're going to use to test our experiment are all things that are okay to get wet. So, I want you to make sure that you ask Mom and Dad when you're doing this experiment if the things that you're using are things that are okay to get wet. Because if something is not supposed to get wet, we don't want to stick it in our water. It's not going to be a good thing. Okay? So, before we get started, we're going to make our sheet where we're going to show the results of our experiment. So, I have my piece of paper right here. And with my piece of paper, I want to cut my piece of paper in half by drawing a line. So where do we draw our line if we want to cut our paper in half with a line? That's right, we're going to draw it right down the middle. So I'm going to draw a line right down the middle. Close enough. So on one side, we're going to be writing the things that sink. What does it mean to sink? If you put something in water, if it's sinking, is it floating? Is it staying on the top or is it going to the bottom? Yes, so if it's sinking, it's going to the bottom. So, on one side of our paper, we're going to write sink. If you don't want to write the whole word, you can write the first letter. What's the first letter of sink? Sink. Sink. That's right. It's an S. So sink. Now, if you want to write the whole word like Miss Fine, we're going to write an S, an I, an N, and a K. Alright. Now on the other side, we're going to write float. Now if something is floating, is it on the top of the water or is it on the bottom of the water? That's right, if it's floating, it's on the top of the water. What does float start with? What letter? Float. Float. It's the same letter as my name. What is it? Yes, it's a letter F. F for float. Now, if you want, you can just write the S and the F, or you can write the whole word like Miss Fine. So after float, float, L-O-A-T. Now I'm going to put a line under both of these. So we have a sink side and we have a float side. It's not a very straight line, but that's okay. As long as we have them on each side, that's all that we need. So the next part is where I'm going to take my container. So I have this big container right here. If you don't have something this big, that's okay. It can be smaller, but we want to make sure the sides are something you can see through so that we can see if something goes to the bottom, sinks, or if it stays at the top of the water, floats. So I'm going to go fill up my water. Okay. Oh, I think Noodle wants to be in this video. Say hi to everybody. Hi, Noodle. Alright, while we fill up our water, we're going to get ready. So I have all sorts of things that I found in my house that I'm going to see if they can sink or they can float. When you do this at your home, you do not have to use the same items that I used. I want you to use something at your house that you have available, okay? So I think our water is almost filled up. Okay. There we go. Now at school we talked about the different things that good scientists do. Good scientists make predictions. They make predictions when they do their experiments. That means before they test something out, before we put something in our water, we're going to think, we're going to use our brains and think. Do we think it's going to sink or do we think it's going to float? What do we think is going to happen? Now, what actually happens might not be the same as what we thought ahead of time, but that's okay because we got to use our brains, and that's what happens in science. Sometimes when we test things out, it doesn't happen the way that we think it's going to happen. Okay. So I'm going to get her paper ready. I'm going to rewrite sink and float so it's a little more straight. Float. Okay, now the first thing that we have is what do we have first? An apple. Now an apple, do we think an apple is going to sink to the bottom of the water? Or do we think it's going to float at the top of the water? What do you guys think? I think an apple feels very heavy. I think maybe it's going to sink. You think I'm right? Well, my prediction is that the apple is going to sink. And now we're going to test it out and find out if my prediction was right. So here goes the apple. What happened? Did it sink or did it float? Look, the apple's on the top of the water. It floated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my paper and I'm going to write float. I'm going to write apple. A-P-P-L-E. Now, if you want to write the words on your prediction or on your results paper, you can write the words. If you don't want to write the words, you could draw a picture. You could draw a picture of an apple. All right, what's next? Well, let's see. Since we just did an apple, I have another food from my kitchen. I have can you see it? It's a potato. Do we think a potato is going to sink or is it going to float? I don't know. Since the apple floated, a potato kind of feels like an apple. So since the apple floated, my prediction is that the potato is going to float. What do you think? Do you think it's going to sink or it's going to float? Let's find out. Ready? 3, 2, 1. My prediction was wrong again. The apple floated, but the potato, it sunk. So we're going to put a potato on the sink side. So I'm going to write potato, P-O-T-A-T-O, potato. What else do we have? Let's see. I have a car. Do you think my car, what kind of car is this? It's red. Yeah, it's a fire engine. Vroom, vroom. What's our prediction? Do we think my car is going to sink or it's going to float? My prediction is, it feels kind of heavy. I don't know though, that apple felt pretty heavy too. My prediction is that it's going to sink. But we'll see because the apple confused me. I thought it was going to sink too. What do you guys think? Is it going to sink or float? Okay, let's see. Ready? 3, 2, 1. It's floating! It is floating. Oh my goodness. My predictions, they're just not what I thought they were going to be. And that's okay. In science, sometimes the predictions that we make are not the same results as our experiment, and that is okay. So, float, we have a car. Float, I'm going to write car, C-A-R. Let's see, now we have, can you see? It's a dinosaur. Do we think this dinosaur is going to sink or float? What's our prediction? I don't know, I've been pretty wrong lately, but I think this dinosaur is going to sink. What do you think? What's your prediction? All right, let's see. 3, 2, 1. I got one right! The first time one of Miss Fine's guesses was right! So I thought the dinosaur was going to sink, and it did actually sink. So for sink, I'm going to write D-I-N-O-S-A-U-R. Dinosaur, sink. What do I have here? I got these from our classroom. Yes, feathers. Do we think they're going to sink or float? I don't know. All of my thoughts about how heavy things weren't always right about whether things were going to sink or float. But feathers, they're so light. They're so light. So my prediction, I think they're going to float. What do you guys think? You think they're going to sink or they're going to float? All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Can you see? Look at our feathers they're floating. They're floating. All right, what do we got next? Oh, we got to write that down. So float, feathers. Now remember, on yours, if you don't want to write the whole word, you could draw a picture, you could write the first letter in the word. It's up to you. How about... I got these from our classroom. They're a box of, if I can get them open. Remember these? They're paper clips. What do we think? Do we think paper clips are going to sink or float? Sink or float? They're metal. They're not very heavy. My guess is... I think my prediction will be that they're going to sink. What do you think? All right, let's see. Am I right? 3, 2, 1. Can you see? Look all the way down at the bottom. There's our paper clips. So they sunk. They got to sink. All right. So on the sink side, I'm going to write clips for paper clips. C-L-I-P-S. Clips. All right, I'm going to do, let's do 2 more things. All right, I have some Pom Poms from our classroom. Remember these Pom Poms? All right, now we need to make a prediction. In our prediction, do we think they're going to sink to the bottom or are they going to float on top? Pom Poms. I think they kind of feel like those feathers. So maybe because of that, I think that they're going to float. What do you guys think? What's your prediction? Do you agree with me? Or do you think they're going to sink? All right, let's find out if we're right. 1, 2, 3. Look at those Pom Poms. They floated. So for float, I'm going to put Pom Poms. P-O-M-P-O-M. Pom Pom. And we have one more thing. What's this? Yep, it's a spoon from my kitchen. Do you think it's going to sink or do you think it's going to float? What's your prediction? I'm not sure. Spoon, huh? Well, I know that sometimes when I do the dishes and I have a sink full of water, I actually usually find my spoons at the bottom. So because of that reason, since I'm remembering that, I think the spoon is going to sink. But I could be wrong. But I think the spoon's going to sink. What do you think? What's your prediction? All right, let's find out if we're right. 3, 2, 1. Oh, what happened? It definitely sunk to the bottom. So we're going to put a spoon on the sink side. S-P-O-O-N. All right, we have time for one more thing. Our last thing we're going to do is... A pine cone. I found a pine cone outside. Remember we played with these in our classroom? You think they're going to sink or they're going to float? I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that sunk at the bottom and a lot of stuff that float. I think this one's going to sink. What do you think? What's your prediction? All right, let's see if we're right. Okay, this is our last one. 3, 2, 1. What happened? Did it sink or did it float? Yes, it floated. So we're going to write that on our paper. We're going to write Pinecone on the float side. P-I-N-E-C-O-N-E. Pinecone. Now, you guys can do this with as many items as you want. And I want you to write down what was sinking and what was floating. Remember, you don't have to write the whole word if you don't know the whole word. You can draw a picture. You can write a letter. Now, I want to look at all the different things we did. How many things did we test out? How many? Let's see. We tested 1, 2, 3. Are you counting with me? I want to hear you count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We tested 9 different things. Now, do you think we had more things that were sinking or more things that were floating? What do you think? Well, let's count it. How many were sinking? We had 1. Are you counting with me? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to write 4. We had 4 things that were sinking. And how many were floating? We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we had 5 things that were floating. So we had 5 float and 4 sink. Which side had more? Did we have more things that were floating or more things that were sinking? What do you think? That's right. We had more sides that were floating because 5 is a bigger number than 4. So we had less things that were sinking and more things that were floating. Now, I hope that you guys can do this activity at home, and I want to know what your predictions were, and I want to know what your results were. What happened? Did what happened match what your prediction was? Did you think something was going to sink and then it floated like Miss Fine? Or did you get it right? Did you think something was going to sink and then it did sink? Also, like Miss Fine, I guess we had a little bit of both. All right, thanks for watching with me today. I hope you do this at home. And if you do, make sure you send me some pictures or some videos so I can see all of your awesome scientist brains at work. All right, bye pre-K.